Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Luke I'm on TV. So today I'm going to be doing a film review of this new movie, Swiss Army Man. It stars Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe, and it's directed by the directing duo Daniels. Paul Dano I had seen previously in the movie Love and Mercy, which was a story about Brian Wilson, circa Pet Sounds and after that. And then also I saw Daniel Radcliffe, of course, in previous Harry Potter movies. Daniels I was not familiar with. I actually had to look up. It turns out that they're a directing duo who are known for doing a lot of music videos, a series of short films, and also some commercials. So this is actually their first full-screen movie debut. So a couple weeks ago, my girlfriend had told me about this movie, and she said, yeah, it sounds like it's going to be really weird, and it's being billed as kind of like a cross between the two movies, Castaway and Weekend at Bernie's. I'm like, yeah, that sounds really fucking weird, but it might be really funny, too. It might be good, so I checked out the trailer, and yeah, sure enough, I'm like, yeah, this looks really strange, but in a good way, like kind of a fun, entertaining way. So last week we decided to go and see it, and yeah, sure enough, I gotta say, this is the weirdest movie I've ever seen. It starts off where Paul Dano's character, we see that he's stranded on this little island. Now, we don't know why he is on this island. We don't know how he got there. We don't know how long he's been there. The movie starts out where they're showing the opening credits, and you're seeing like these little boats that he's been sending out that say little messages, help me, I'm bored, please save me, and whatnot. But even, towards the end of the movie, we still don't find out, how he got there or why he was there in the first place, which is kind of interesting. There's actually a lot of questions that are left to be unanswered at the end of this movie. So we don't know how he got there, but he's about to kill himself. He's about to hang himself when all of a sudden this other dead body washes up on shore, and that's played by Daniel Radcliffe. Now, of course, he's supposed to be dead, and throughout the course of the movie, he is supposed to still be dead, but some things happen throughout the movie that really make you question, like, how can this guy really be dead? There's some really, really strange things that go on through this movie. But I'm not going to spoil it for you. I don't want to tell you about everything that happens. I want you all to go see this movie. But I'm going to give you a few criticisms about the movie. I'll tell you some things I liked and didn't like, and then give you my final word on the movie. Very, very strange movie, I will say, and it does definitely live up to the cross between Castaway and Weekend at Bernie's. It really intersects between those two movies. There is a lot of it is pretty much what I would call a dark comedy. I mean, obviously you're talking about the possibility of death and isolation and being stranded and hopelessness at times. It's dealing very dark overtones, but yet it is very, very funny. And that's the thing. I think I was laughing throughout most of this movie, and I had just a smile on my face because even if it wasn't being funny, you're just laughing and smiling over how weird and awkward some of these things are that happen in this movie, and it's just very, very entertaining. And I think on that note, I think this movie is really destined to become a cult classic, because I don't believe that this movie is going to get really high ratings, or a lot of people are going to go out and see this movie. I think a lot of people still don't know about this movie. I've talked about this movie with some other people, and they've never heard of it, and I tell them about it, and they say, yeah, that sounds pretty weird. So I don't think a lot of people are going to actually see this in the theater. I think it's once this movie hits digital, or people are going to rent it or whatever, I think then eventually word of mouth will get around, and then people will eventually see this movie. And I think it's bound to become a cult classic, and I think a lot of people are going to say that this is just a bad movie, which in some respects it is, but I think this would actually be labeled as one of those movies that's actually, it's so bad that it's actually good. And good meaning entertaining. I mean, this movie has a lot of really gross humor, and it's kind of sick and twisted in some ways, but again, it's what I would call a dark comedy. But again, it's very, very, very entertaining, and I just had a really good time watching this. And again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it leaves a lot of things to be unanswered. Like, if you're really paying attention to most of this movie, what they're saying in this movie, that you're like, well, how did this happen, or how did that happen, and I don't understand this part. And it really leaves you guessing. At the end of this movie has such a really very strange ending, which, you know, makes sense because it is such a strange movie. I mean, you would almost expect a movie like this to have a very strange ending, and it does. So yeah, but it leaves you with a lot of questions. So once it ends, you see the credits that say "the end" on the movie. You're like, what the hell? You know, that didn't explain anything. And it's funny too, because right as the movie ended, my girlfriend leans over to me and she says, "Was there supposed to be a moral to that movie?" And I just laughed and I said, "I don't know," because I was like, I don't know what to think. I mean, it's the weirdest fucking movie I've ever seen. I don't know what to think right now. But all I could say is that I thought it was funny and I had a good time watching it, and I probably would watch it again just because I need to try and process everything that happens and maybe try and get some answers as to some things that they said or did in this movie, and I didn't quite understand what was going on. But anyway, so my only real criticism in the movie is, it's a bit of a spoiler, is that actually they make his character talk. And the Daniel Radcliffe's character talk. He's supposed to be dead, but all of a sudden, at some point, he starts talking. And I don't know really what to say about that. It's kind of like almost being like a parrot. I think he's being kind of like a parrot. Like he's repeating things that Paul Dano's character is saying to him. You know, he's kind of repeating them back and asking him questions about it. And then Paul Dano has to kind of explain some things about why things are, what it's like to be alive, kind of trying to remind him of what it feels like to be alive. So it's very, very interesting. But anyway, again, I don't want to really spoil anything for you, but that's just, it's the only criticism I have. I would have actually preferred that he didn't talk at all, kind of like Weekend at Bernie's, where his character is just plain dead and he does not talk there. You know, he's not, no signs of life at all. But again, this is a dark comedy. It's meant to be funny. It's meant to be entertaining. So obviously, it's not a movie that's meant to be kind of semi-believable. It's a movie that's supposed to be really exaggerated, very far out, very far-fetched, very weird, and it succeeds on all levels. So anyway, I think I would rate this movie a 6 out of 10. Again, it's not a real, what I would call a great movie. You know, I mean, it's probably what I would say probably to be pretty low budget, since there wasn't a lot of scenery that they needed to shoot, any kind of background. They just created certain things for the set, or however they shot this movie, you know. But again, it was very, very entertaining, and I had a really good time watching it, and I definitely would see it again, and I would recommend it. So anyway, so this has been my film review for the movie Swiss Army Man. If you have enjoyed watching this video, please make sure to like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you next time.